Hello and welcome. Welcome to Quilt Conversations Live. I'm Geraldine Wilkins, the Living Water Quilter. Hello, ladies. Hello, Copper. Welcome back. Hello, Faye Lynn. And Marsha's out there. Michelle, welcome. Who else is here? Cassie, hello. How are you, Cassie? So glad you ladies are here for another Quilt Conversations Live. And thank you for coming an hour later, 8 o'clock instead of our normal time, 7 p.m. Now, I don't know if you were paying attention. Did you notice I have a new sponsor? Clover Needlecraft, Clover, those tools that we use for sewing and quilting, they are sponsoring this live show. Once a month, Clover is going to sponsor Quilt Conversations Live. I'm excited about that. And each month, I'm going to feature one of the Clover tools that I use and like. I'm excited about that. So, Clover Needlecraft. If you're not familiar with them, they have a YouTube channel. Go check them out. Now, what is the featured product? It is a tool for helping us with curved seams, different seam allowances, as well as channel piecing. When we want to stitch something with an accurate seam on both sides, we can create a channel with this seam guide. Let's take a look. Hey, Wilda, so glad that you're here. Welcome. Awesome. Okay, let's go to the overhead camera. This is the featured product for this month. It's a stitch guide. Have you seen this before? I have talked about it before. In fact, if you are in the 10 steps to stress-free machine quilting and you've looked at some of the tool videos, this is one of the videos in the course. I show you how to use this guide. These two guides have a tacky bottom, so you can position it on your machine. It won't leave a residue, but it will stay in place. And it comes with a grid so that you can use the grid with holes to create seam allowance. Let me see if we can show this on camera. I'm going to come up high. It's going to take a moment for it to focus in on that. Hopefully it will focus in momentarily. All right, it looks like it doesn't want to do it. Let me try this. And I practiced before I went live. Of course, it doesn't work when I go live, right? I have this black fabric here so that you can actually see it because this is transparent. All right, let's try this. All right, it should focus momentarily. All right, do what you're supposed to do. Focus. All right, there we go, finally. Do you see those holes? There's a grid with holes, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. The hole is for your needle. This is to help you position your needle for different seam allowances based on 1/4 inch increments. And then the other side has seam allowances for garments, other types of crafts. So the seam allowance is just a little bit different. Let's see if that will focus. It'll take a minute or two. Well, hopefully not a full minute. It should be less than that. I don't know why it's focusing so slowly. There we go. 3/8 of an inch, 5/8 of an inch. Those holes to help you position your needle. Now, when you get this, and of course, remember, there is a full video and demo on how to use this in the 10 steps course. I show you how to use it. And in the back, you see 3 different ways how to use the seam guide. You can use it for curve piecing. It shows you here in the middle. A channel, for instance, if you're doing a strap for a tote bag, how to position the 2 guides. And then for straight top stitching. So that is our featured product for the month of June. This is by Clover. So I'm glad to have Clover as a sponsor of Quilt Conversations Live. Each month, we're going to look at one of their tools to help us with our sewing and quilting. Dina's camera is camera shy. Copper, you're funny. All right, what's happening? What's new? Well, one reason why we're going to talk about ruler quilting is because I have ruler quilting on my mind. That's one reason. Today I had a two event day, all at the same guild here in Virginia. It was about an hour and 40-minute drive, and I did a demonstration of different types of rulers, and then we had lunch. Thank you to the guild who provided lunch. And then we did a 3-hour workshop, the Power Lines workshop. And the Power Lines workshop is a beginning workshop. Those who are just dipping their toe into ruler quilting, you want to learn how to set up your machine. You want to know how to adjust the foot so you get nice stitching, your tension, your thread, everything you need to know in the very beginning of ruler quilting so that you can have success once you have the machine set up correctly. So we went through that today in this Power Lines class. That is the beginner class. Now, when are you a beginner? How many of you, raise your hand, have you tried ruler quilting? Let us know in the chat. If you have tried ruler quilting, put a Y. If you have not, put an N for no. Let me know. Let's see. Oh, there goes Lorraine. Hello, Lorraine. So glad that you're here. Welcome, welcome. Let me know if you have tried ruler quilting. All right. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. Any Y's for yes, any N's for no. Michelle says no. Okay. Who would like to try? If you have a ruler foot and rulers, but you haven't tried it yet. Many of the ladies today have had a ruler foot, they've had rulers, maybe they took an introductory class, and some of them had not touched the ruler foot at all, no quilting at all. Hey, Carol, welcome. So glad that you're here. Lorraine says that she has tried ruler quilting. Phelan says no. Carol says no. Now, I consider myself new to ruler quilting when I'm starting with a new machine because I need to figure out the machine settings. What kind of ruler foot am I going to get? Am I going to get a generic ruler foot or am I going to get one made by the machine company? I recommend, if you're taking notes and you want to learn ruler quilting, one, you want a machine that's capable of free motion quilting. That is so important. You need to learn how to set up your machine for free motion quilting. Feed dogs down. You also need a nice, smooth, flat surface, whether your machine is inside of a table or with an extension table. You need a nice, flat surface. All right. So then you want to have a ruler foot. A ruler foot made by your machine manufacturer is the first thing you want to do. You want to find out if your company that your machine was made by makes a ruler foot for your machine. If they do not, then get a generic ruler foot. Otherwise, get the ruler foot made by your machine manufacturer. So that is so important. Then, once your machine is set up for free motion quilting, and if you don't know how to do that, go to your manual. Learn how to drop your feed dogs. And you also want to brush up on your tension. Perhaps your machine has stitch regulation. Does your machine have stitch regulation? If it does, say yes with a Y. If it does not, say N with a no. No stitch regulation. Let me know in the chat. Hey, Debbie. So, yes, you've tried ruler quilting, Deb. Michelle has not tried. Copper raises her hand. Yes. Welcome, MC. So glad that you're here. All right. Copper says, yay for stitch regulation. Lorraine does not have stitch regulation. So Marsha says, where does the ruler foot come from? You want to go to your machine dealer, go to a website, for instance, Bernina. If you have a Bernina machine, you want to find a local Bernina shop. If you don't have one close by, you can always call them on the phone, tell them what machine you have, and ask them for a ruler foot. And a ruler foot is round, it's a 1/2 inch in diameter. And your needle has to be positioned right inside the center of that round circle. What is stitch regulation? Good question. Okay, so when we set up our machine for free motion quilting, it's called free motion because we are moving the fabric. Normally, when we are stitching, our feed dogs, which move the fabric, those teeth on top of the stitch plate, they move the fabric and they create the stitch length. We set a stitch length on our machine, and those feed dogs are going to move the fabric for that desired stitch length. But for free motion, we are going to drop those feed dogs so that they don't make contact with the fabric. If they're not making contact with the fabric, guess what? The fabric does not move. The needle is stitching in place because the fabric is not moving. The feed dogs are not moving it. So Marsha says she has a brother. So go to the brother website, look up accessories, look up your machine first. So it doesn't matter what brand you have. You want to find out if they have a ruler foot, you go to their website. Brother, Fast, Baby Lock, Bernina, any machine company, Juki. Go to the website, find your machine, then look under accessories and look to see if they have a ruler foot. And if they do, see how you can order either on that website or through a dealer that sells that machine brand. Yes, Carol, they are thicker. They are not like the rulers we use to cut with. You do not want to use those rulers for ruler quilting. And the reason being is that you don't want the ruler to go underneath the needle. If this is the foot and we have a ruler beside it, we don't want that ruler to go underneath because you're going to damage your machine. The needle's going to hit the acrylic. All right, let's see. Any other questions? Oh, back to your question, Christina, about stitch regulation. So since we drop the feed dogs, we need something to help regulate the length of the stitch. We want the stitch length to be consistent. Now, for those of you who've tried free motion quilting, you know that when we move the fabric in the very beginning, we're going to have starts and stops and irregular movement. So therefore, our stitch length will be long, short, shorter, longer, short, shorter, long. It won't be a regular, consistent stitch length. So there are some machines that have incorporated stitch regulation, meaning a consistent stitch length, via the electronics for free motion quilting. So some machines, even when you drop the feed dogs, there's something in the machine that will help give you consistent stitch length. And for instance, the Bernina sit down has stitch regulation. And that is done by the machine on the plate, on the stitch plate. There are sensors. Those sensors follow my hand movements, how slow and how fast. Based on the setting I put on the machine, I tell it I want so many stitches per inch. Now the machine knows that when I move my hands, those sensors are going to say, oh, she wants 10 stitches per inch. So when she moves her hand, I'm going to make sure it's consistently that stitch length, 10 stitches per inch. Christina, I hope that answered your question. Christina says, I have a baby lock. So then you want to go to the baby lock website, find that machine, look at the accessories, find out if they make a ruler foot for your machine. All right. Do you have recommendations for basic quilting rulers? Carol asked that question. I always say start simple. And a simple ruler is a straight edge with a gentle curve. And that's the Power Lines workshop that I taught today. It was a simple, small, basic ruler, straight edge and a gentle curve. All right. What else? Let me look at some more questions here. When I'm turning my head, for those of you who are new, I'm looking at the questions in the chat. All right. Let's see. Okay, Christina, great. I'm glad that answered your question. All right. So when you go to your machine manufacturer and they recommend a ruler foot, they're going to tell you what thickness ruler you need. There are three different thicknesses. There's the 1/4 inch thick, 4, which is 6 millimeters. Then there's 4.5 millimeters. That's for a high shank machine. And then 3 millimeters, half the thickness of the 1/4 inch. You're going to find out which thickness you need for your machine. That's why it's important to learn from your machine what shank it is, high or low shank. Then you know what thickness to get for your machine. Okay? And the reason for that, again, you don't want the ruler to go underneath the foot and you don't want it to go above. Okay? So if it's too thin, it can go underneath. And if it's too thick, which it's rare that you would find one that way, that's like using a low shank foot with a very thick ruler. It can shift and possibly go on top. That's rare that happens, but it could. Yes, Copper, long arms use 1/4 inch thick. All right. So guess what? When you get a new machine, you have to repeat this process. You have to find out what the accessories are. Can it do free motion quilting? Can it drop the feed dogs? And you want to test the machine setup. And so I helped the ladies with that today, but guess who else had to learn how to do that? I did with my new Bernette 79. My new Bernette 79, I had to. All right, can you hear me now? Sorry. All right, sound? Yes. I'm waiting for a yes in the chat before I start over. Okay, thank you, Michelle. Sorry about that, ladies. Okay, so I'll start over. Every time you get a new machine, you have to start from scratch for setting up for ruler quilting. I just received this Bernette 79. It's a home machine, and you know I love ruler quilting, so I had to figure out how to set it up. I did exactly what I'm telling you. I went to the website, I looked under accessories to find out what the ruler foot is. I went to the dealer, I found a ruler foot, and I purchased the ruler foot. Then I watched the Bernette website, the YouTube channel, and the website to figure out how to put the ruler foot on. They show you step by step. Okay? Hey, Kathy, so glad that you're here. Welcome. So you are going to do the same thing. So that's why I want to share it with you that even though I teach ruler quilting, every single machine is different. So when I was teaching a class today, and if you plan to take a class, you will get more out of an in-person class if you do some preparation. One, you already figured out your machine can do free motion. Two, you have found the right ruler foot, the one made by the machine company. You've learned how to install the ruler foot. Okay? Do not wait until you get to the class and think that the teacher knows how to do it for every machine. Every machine is different. Some experienced teachers, I've been teaching ruler quilting since 2015, but there's always a new machine, right? This machine is new to me. So I had to figure it out. Okay. So I found the foot, I attached it, and then I had to go around in the settings based on the video how to set it up. Drop the feed dogs. Where do I do that? How do I, this is a big one. How many of you have a machine that has a hover feature? This machine will hover. So I say there are 3 different foot heights. Either the foot is up or the foot is partially down, and that's the hover position. And on this machine, there are 2 different hover positions. There's 2 millimeters and there's 6 millimeters. So I hope you're getting this. I want to encourage you to learn everything you can about your machine. So hover, if you haven't heard of that, that basically means if you're, say you are doing some chain piecing and you don't want to lift the foot every single time, it will go into a hover feature, meaning that it won't go all the way down. It will hover just a little bit above the stitch plate so you can squeeze some fabric in. And as soon as you start to stitch, the foot goes all the way down and then you stitch. So we have the foot all the way up, then we have hover, and then we have it all the way down. 3 different positions. When your machine has a hover feature, you want to make sure it's at the lowest setting. Who can guess why? When it's hovering over the stitch plate, there's a gap, right? There's a gap. So what can happen if you have a gap and you have a ruler? What can happen if you're using a ruler right next to a foot that's hovering and not all the way down? You have a gap. Who can guess what can happen? Anyone guess what can happen? Correct, Copper. Exactly. You don't want the ruler to go underneath the foot. And this is another reason why you want the right thickness and you want to check your machine settings to make sure if you have a hover feature, either turn it off or put it at the lowest setting. So that's what I did, excuse me, for this machine. Then there is, right, Lorraine, it can slide underneath the foot and we don't want that. Exactly. Let me, slip stitches. No, not necessarily if, but you are right, Cassie, in the sense that if the foot while you're stitching is too high, if you have an adjustable foot where you can adjust the height of the foot, if it's too high, you can have skip stitches. So yes, that is very true. All right, wonderful. So I am learning how to use this machine. This was my first attempt. Well, I should say second, because I tried it at the Bernina shop. I went to a shop here in Virginia that sells Bernina's, a quilt shop, and they gave me a lesson on this machine. And as soon as I picked up the ruler foot after the end of the class, I said, I want a ruler foot and I want to test it right here in the store. So I recommend that too. If you go to a store and you bring your machine with you and you have a new foot and you want to see how to set it up, more than likely there will be people in the shop who can show you how to set it up. They will help you. So that's what I did. And the three of us troubleshooted over this. They had not set it up at this point, they had not used the ruler foot. So we learned together. Then I came home and I just picked out a ruler and just started stitching. This machine does not have stitch regulation. It does not have stitch regulation, which I'm okay with that. That is fine. Because as I learn and practice, remember, practice, 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 my stitch length will get better. You can see my stitches are not even if you take a close look. And that's okay because I'm learning, right? I'm learning how to do it. The first thing is the machine setup, the right foot, the right settings on the machine, my thread and needle, a nice smooth surface. This is the basic part that you want to get set up. So if you are just starting, you want to look for your foot, get some help if you can, watch a tutorial or a video, take a class or a workshop, just like the ladies did today. And the ladies today, they took the Power Lines workshop. We did straight lines and gentle curves, and we went over the foundation. Power Lines is the foundation. It's machine setup. They took a lot of notes and how to check your thread tension, how to position the foot at the right height. Now, who can guess if the foot height remains the same no matter what you quilt? Does the foot height remain the same? Who can guess? Yes or no? Y for yes, N for no in the chat. What would cause, if it does change the foot height, what would cause it to change? Who knows? What would cause the foot height to change? I know Lorraine knows. Copper says she's not sure. Lorraine says no, the foot height wouldn't change. Gary says no. Hey, Gary, welcome. So glad that you're here. Welcome, welcome. The foot height, who else can guess? Does the foot height change? And if it does, why does it change? That's kind of a hint that it does change. Let me go back to that. Whoops, here. There we go. I'm kind of confused here. Bulk. Christina, yes. Bulk. Gary, type of material. It's more the thickness of the batting. If you're using a low loft batting, high loft batting, double batting, the thickness of the fabric seams. Michelle, to a certain degree, yes. If we have thick seams, that could change things. However, guess what? Some machines like Bernina's and Long Arms, the free motion or ruler quilting foot is a hopping foot. It hops. So when you get to those thick seams, it can hop over that easier than a static foot. Okay? Let me show you the video again so you can see the difference. So this foot is static. It is not bouncing up and down. So it's a consistent height throughout. So if I have bulky seams, when I get to a bulky seam, it's going to be a challenge, right? It's not hopping like a bunny. Now, for Bernina, they have several types of feet, and other manufacturers do as well, where you can adjust the height of the foot. It has a dial on it so that when the bulk of the batting makes the quilt sandwich thicker and higher, you can turn that dial to adjust the foot height. Okay. Why would it make a difference? And I think it was Carol who said, let me see. Oh, Cassie, skip stitches. Here's a tip. Usually I share this tip only in a paid workshop, so you are getting this info for free today. If this is your fabric, no matter what thickness it is, we want the foot to skim the surface. So if it's pushing too hard, you're not going to be able to move the fabric. You want it to skim the surface no matter how thick your batting or quilt sandwich is. And that's why having an adjustable foot is an ideal foot to have, or a hopping foot that can adjust as it's stitching. It's hopping up and down, so it's not going to cause the fabric to be pushed because it's too close to the fabric. The foot is too close to the fabric. So these are images from the power lines, gentle curves and straight line quilting. You can always supplement your ruler quilting with free motion quilting. Now, why do we want to ruler quilt? Let me go back to this view. Why is it advantageous for us to learn ruler quilting? Who can guess? Thank you, Gary. I'm glad that you like them. Are you a quilter? Curious. Why would we want to learn ruler quilting? If you are a quilter, a DIY quilter, you quilt your own projects, maybe the small projects. Perhaps you send your big projects to a long armor, but you want to have some creative fun with quilting on your own machine. So Copper says, Dina, when you use wool, I would imagine you would have to adjust the foot height. Yes, I do adjust the foot height. So Christina says versatility, why you would want to learn ruler quilting. I agree. It's very versatile. Michelle says to quilt straight lines and curves. Yes. Lorraine says consistency. Yes, consistency in design. When we are free motion quilting and we're learning a design, to make it uniform every single time is challenging. You'd have to practice over and over and over and over again for it to become near perfect, never perfect. With a acrylic ruler that's a circle, you can stitch consistent circles. So Copper says to be able to make the quilt from beginning to end, that's another advantage. So Gary has a sewing machine and he wants to learn how to use it and learn how to quilt. Wonderful. So Kathy says, I'm hooked on ruler quilting. Love the creativity. Yes, that's another reason why you want to learn. There are so many rulers out there for us now on domestic machines to help us stitch creative and beautiful designs easily with the rulers, right? We can do that with the rulers. And it can be consistent, like Lorraine said. But another important reason, who here, Y for yes, N for no, if you have quilted on a home machine and you've had a wrestling match with that quilt. It was a wrestling match. You constantly had to turn it. If you used a walking foot that only goes in one direction, you have to rotate that quilt. Let me know. So Phelan says, Gary, you're not by yourself. A lot of new people learning, and we're all at different stages. And that's one reason why I love Quilt Conversations Live, because we can help one another. We are all teachers. We're always helping the person next to us that's coming behind us. We want to help each other go to the next level, no matter where we are. Michelle says, why? Yes. Kathy says why. Lorraine says why. Yes, many times wrestling with that quilt. Well, when you quilt with acrylic rulers, because you have done your homework, you know what thickness ruler you need. You can position that ruler anywhere around the foot. That means that you can stitch a square with straight lines without turning the quilt. You just change the position of the ruler. You move the ruler from the front to the left side and to the right side and then to the back. You don't have to rotate. If it's a walking foot, every time you stitch a straight line and you want to stitch a square, you stitch one side, you rotate it. You stitch another side, you rotate it. With rulers, you just move the ruler. You don't move the fabric. That's another important reason. And with the domestic machine, you need as much flexibility as possible. You want to minimize that wrestling match. Yes, Copper, I like that you said that. We're all learning and quilting at our own speed. Yes, absolutely. Okay, what is the other thing? So what I'm showing you are the classes that I'm teaching this fall. This fall, I have an opportunity to teach at the American Quilter Society show, Grand Rapids show in Michigan. And one is the Power Lines, which you've seen that. And that's a beginner. Straight edge, gentle curve. You can see some of the curve designs there. Then there's a class called Going in Circles. Using a 2-inch circle, all the classes use one ruler. So someone asked earlier, what ruler do you start with? Start with one and a simple ruler. First, find out if you like it, if you enjoy it. Then you want to max out the number of designs that you can stitch with that one ruler. Excuse me. Okay, so here's an example of quilt panels. I love to use quilt panels. Go from a whole cloth quilt to a quilt panel. Then I go to a quilt. A panel helps me to preview what something can look like in a pieced quilt, what a design can look like. That's an example. Let's look at another example. Here are some designs using a 2-inch circle. Now, it's a 2-inch circle, but do you think these designs can be repeated in a 3-inch circle, a 4-inch circle? Yes, it doesn't matter what size circle. We just want to learn how to stitch designs using parts of a circle. So in this workshop, we concentrate on how to take that 2-inch circle and use a half circle, a quarter of a circle, 3/4 of a circle, and make continuous designs without stopping or with very little starts and stops. So this in the center has the large piece has 3/4 of circles that are overlapping. They're 3/4 of a circle. They overlap and they create those little petals. And yes, the circle rulers are very versatile. My personal preference is a circle ruler where the ruler foot is on the inside rather than the outside. I like to stitch and have more control when I'm stitching on the inside as opposed to the outside. Okay. So when I started teaching ruler quilting back in 2015, 2016, I was teaching 6 different types of rulers in a class. And I quickly learned that too many rulers can be confusing. And so I've devoted the last several years to teaching one ruler per class. So we have one ruler with the power lines, one ruler with the um, circles going in circles, one ruler with power curves, which is a serpentine ruler. And I think by doing that, that allows you to get more out of one ruler. And it also helps you improve your ability to create new designs because you will see the progression. That's what I love to share, the progression from one simple circle to overlapping circles, etc., etc. All right, so we have another ruler class. Actually, I'm teaching 4 ruler classes and 1 free motion quilting class. Who likes the clamshell design? I love the clamshell design. This is another fantastic ruler. If you are making a list of different rulers, these are the ones that are very, very versatile. The 12-inch arc, which is the power lines, a simple circle, and a clamshell ruler. Yes, it can be very diverse. Very diverse. And you can stitch multiple things. Edge to edge designs. You can stitch embroidery, sashing. You can stitch block based designs, ones that are just sit inside of a square. You get to do that with all of these rulers, and I show you how to do that in these classes. Let's take a look at some of those designs. So here are some. Now I added an additional circle with the clamshell, but look how versatile. Now the clamshell is really, this particular one is half of a 3-inch circle, one side. But the way the ruler is designed, it's designed so that you can stack half of circles one on top of another. Thank you. Yep, this is the back, the purple, very pink purplish. That is the back of the quilt. I thought the stitching, you could see it a little bit better there. Okay. So is that making sense? You know, going with very simple rulers and just concentrating on those rulers first. So let us know in the chat if you are excited to learn ruler quilting or to open up the package of rulers that you already have. Some of you ladies already have rulers and you haven't tried them. Good question. So today I taught mostly with Sew Steady rulers, but I have been venturing out and using other rulers as well. And one is with a company called Quilter's Rule. Quilter's Rule has some fun rulers. And one series of rulers is called the chain rulers. It has 4 different sizes of, say, ovals on that one ruler. 4 different sizes of squares, diamonds, and you can have so much fun. And guess what? That's one of the classes. Good timing, Copper. One of the classes is, it's called Diamond Facets, and I'm using Quilter's Rules chain ruler. It has 4 different sizes, and when you combine those 4 sizes of the same shape, you get interesting designs. Yes, the nested sets are nice too, Lorraine. I love the nested sets. Quilter's Rule has been around a long time. Ah, so Phelan says she purchased the square chain by Quilter's Rule. So you know what I'm talking about. Fantastic. Wonderful. So let's take a look at the Diamond Facets class. This is made with this ruler. I used one of the 4 sizes to create this edge to edge design. But the edge to edge design is actually a column of stitching, 3 different columns stitched close together to give it that look. It makes it so easy to stitch this on your home machine. Here's a tip. When you're stitching on a home machine, if you're stitching from the bottom to the top, easy. From the back to the front, whenever you're stitching vertically, you're keeping all the quilt outside of the machine area. If you have a small throat space, you can't fit a lot of fabric in this small space. So I always like to include designs in these workshops that allow you to stitch going vertically while you're in front of your machine rather than left to right. And so all you would do is stitch one collar at a time, one column at a time. And if you stitch them close together, it looks like it's a complete edge to edge design. Ah, Kathy, good question. This ruler is from Quilter's Rule. You can go to their website and they're called the chain rulers. Quilter's Rule. You can also go to the American Quilting Society, aqs.com, and look up my classes for Michigan. Then when you go to the class, you're going to see this image. There's a supply list. This is a supply list on the AQS site, and you will find the information there as well. You can always go to my website. Copper can put the link. I think I put the link at the top of the chat on YouTube. I put it on Facebook as well. Depending upon where you're at, Facebook or YouTube, you just go to the top of the chat and you'll see a link to my website. Then look up quilt shows and you'll find information for AQS. All right, fantastic. Absolutely. Remember, you want to do your homework on the thickness. Bernina machines use high shank rulers, which is 4.5 millimeters thick or a 1/4 inch thick. If you're using a sit down machine, you're going to use 1/4 inch thick rulers. And Quilter's Rule has ruler thicknesses for home machines and for long arms. Thank you, Copper. Thank you for putting that up. Okay. Quiltersrule.com. All right. Okay. Let me go back to the host view. So, is there something about ruler quilting that I haven't answered? This is a basic introduction. How to get started, to get a ruler foot, to get a simple ruler, to practice. The main thing is setting up your machine, checking your tension, making sure that you can do free motion quilting on your machine, and then taking a class or watching a YouTube tutorial somewhere and getting started. Open the package if you already have these things and test it out. Okay. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you so much. What else did I want to share? Okay, it's June. Remember, there's always a course on my website that is the course of the month, and there's always a discount. Ah, good question. I generally will use fat quarters to practice, and I will take a fat quarter and I will cut it in half, and then I will cut the half in half. So depending upon how much time you have or what you want to do with it after you're done, because you're going to quilt and practice, some are going to be not worth saving and others will be worth saving. And so if you make a bigger piece, meaning a full fat quarter or half of a fat quarter, then you can sew it together, say to make a sewing machine cover, a zippy pouch, something like that. So that's what I do. Oh, you're welcome, Christina. You're very welcome. So the course for the month is up, and it is the let's see, my little thing should come up here any moment now. Let's see. Hopefully that will come up. There it is. All right. Stress-free machine quilting. Self-paced video course. That's the course that's on sale for this month. You save $50 on the at checkout. Just make sure you put in the code June50. If you're new here and you want to know what is the 10 steps to stress-free machine quilting, we went through that here on Quilt Conversations Live. Was it a year ago, I think? And now it's a course. And many of the ladies in the chat have already signed up. It has over 20, 30 videos in it. Of course, one video, at least one video for each step. That's fabric, that's thread and needles, basting your quilt, everything that I do from beginning to end, practice techniques. And then in between all that, you get all of these videos like the Clover tool that I showed you today, the stitch guide. I show you how to get an accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance, what tools I use. And so I share tools like this one with little tutorials on how to use the tool to help you get good results. This is a master class. Once you sign up, it's yours. You can submit assignments. And those of you who have not submitted assignments lately, I want to help you. So start doing some of the work. And that could be anything that you're working on where you're having problem with step number 6 or 5 or whatever it is. Send me a message through the platform, take a picture, submit the picture, and I will respond and help you. Okay? And I want you to do that not only for you, but when you do that and you have success, I want others to see and I want to share your success with the QCL community. I want ladies to know that you are moving forward. And when you move forward, it encourages others. And then we all get encouraged. So that's another reason why I want you to do that so that I can share your success with our friends here at Quilt Conversations Live. Okay. Let's see. Did I forget anything? What else? Oh, Copper, thank you for sharing all those links. Thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. What are you ladies going to work on for the summer? What are your projects? I have several projects that are coming up that I have some deadlines for that I can't wait to share with you. I just can't share them right now. But we will have some more ruler quilting opportunities. Let me put it that way. So if you have not set up your machine and you want to set up your machine and you can't make it to Michigan to take a ruler quilting class with me, get your machine set up. Now, Copper, can you drop in a link to my Amazon shop in the chat? If you're on Facebook, you can find the Amazon link on my website. I did drop a link on Facebook. And the reason why I want to share that with you, if you're new here, I have created several lists. These are curated lists to help you find the tools that you need. So there's a ruler quilting for beginner supply list. And you can see all the different tools that I use to help with my machine setup. There's a curated list for free motion quilting. There are several curated lists with the tools that I use to get the results, consistent results. You're very funny, Christina. I like that. Why cut into perfectly beautiful fabric? I love it. It's hard. That's why sometimes I look for those patterns where the cutting doesn't bring it down to 2 inches. I want some fabrics or quilts that show off the fabric, but I definitely understand that. So, so I just gave you a hint. Get your ruler quilting machine set up. I have some things coming up this summer that I want you to be able to participate, and you're going to need to have your machine all set up for that. Okay? What did I forget? I think that's it. Unless you ladies have some questions, I've gone through everything. We've talked about machine setup, the basics, and how I've started over because I have a new machine and I need to learn how to set it up and how it works for ruler quilting. So we all need to do that no matter where we are. All right, ladies, I don't see any questions in the chat. If you are new here and you enjoyed this, don't keep it a secret. Tell your friends to come join us on the 1st and the 3rd Friday. Normally we meet at 7 p.m., but because I had a full day of teaching, I left home at 6:30 this morning, and then I raced back here to make sure I was live for you at 8 o'clock. Thank you for coming an hour later. We meet here at 7 p.m., Facebook and YouTube. And again, thank you to Clover for sponsoring Quilt Conversations Live. There will be one featured product every month, and this month it is the stitch guide. Let me go to the overhead camera, and if you're not inside the 10 steps course and you want more information about this, you can go to their YouTube channel to find out how to use this stitch guide. 3 different ways. Okay? And if you're not subscribed, give this video a thumbs up. Don't keep it a secret. If you enjoyed today, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget when you subscribe to click notification bell so you'll be notified when I add content to the channel as well as when I will go live. Thank you, Christina. So glad you could join us. Thank you, Phelan. Oh, Shelly. Oh, that's okay. It's going to be available on the replay. I'm sorry you missed it, but you got here for the last few minutes. Watch the replay. And also, if you're new, my comments are curated so you can leave a comment. I will see it and then I will respond. Okay? And so, Shelly, if you have a question, you can leave a question or comment in the replay. And the chat is always available, so you can read the chat as you watch. Okay? All right. You're welcome, Wilda. Get some rest. Yes, this lady is tired. All the stuff for the class is right in the middle of my living room. I just took it out of the car, plopped it in the middle of the living room, and I came here. All right. Thank you, Copper, our conversation chat moderator extraordinaire. Thank you for helping out today. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. See you in a couple of weeks. And if all goes well, it will be an interview. We are going to interview with an author of a children's book about quilting. So I hope you can join us 2 weeks from today. All right. I'll see you next time for another Quilt Conversations Live.